make person talk. Them say that Mayegun, that man too they talk. He too they talk. Say Mayegun diary, he dey hot like pepper. But every day then they take money in bulk. Poor man pikin dey the street they hawk. Still them talk say make we no talk. But thank God say Mayegun don't come. So my people make you laugh. Oh yo yo, Mayegun don't come. Oh yo yo, my people make you shout. Oh yo yo, Mayegun don't come. Oh yo yo, Mayegun the command of the masses. Oh yo yo, Mayegun don't come. Oh yo yo, Mayegun diary politico. Oh yo yo, Mayegun don't come. Oh yo yo, this man not dey off in mind. Oh yo yo, Mayegun don't come. Oh yo yo. Aha! Now him una don hear all these bad politicians them we call themselves politicians. When they thief our money, we no want make the common man get wetin him suppose get for this country. Una never hear something. Now go hear one, Mayegun. You go show una paper. Mayegun.
Hello there. Good morning to you, good afternoon to you, and good evening to you from wherever you are watching from. This is Mayegun Live.
Glory Facebook, glory YouTube.
Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have something like People's Parliament, but dedicated to the obedient, what you achieved. No matter how much, a lot of critics want to underplay that. For the sake of posterity, we will keep them for posterity's sake, I will say. The man behind it, or should I say the man at the front of the whole thing, Peter Obi turned 62 today. So if you are obedient, you are welcome. We would like to have you on tonight. You can join the studio. Okay, let me tell you how this is going to work. Tonight, I am going to bring back to you, all right, the movement that were primarily thought would be third force, but they ended up being the main force. So tonight, I'll bring back some of this, some of their activities that led to the obedient, ever persistent, obedient all over the world. I have compiled some clips that I'm going to share with you. And at a point, you are likely going to have a chance, if you want to, join us live and share with us, where did you get that conviction from that if it was Obi, Nigeria have a chance? Without Obi, Nigeria is done for. Mind you, Mayegun, I am actually at the camp of those of us who have seen it all. We believe that Nigeria cannot be saved or rescued. There are millions of you who have proved the point that the establishment can be taken to the cleaners. And you did that in a space of a 10 months. Your movement got people who are never interested in what was going on politically in Nigeria for the first time to be interested, because now they understood the impact of bad governance. Now, this movement, as much as some of these critics would like to underplay what you have done, we all agree that the only sort of opposition in Nigeria right now, politically, that is giving the establishment a sleepless night are this same supposed 4 people tweeting in a room. You can share the broadcast. Remember,
YouTube. And yes, we like.
Peter turned 62 today. Is like a one-man mopo with the army of oppressed, brutalized, abused, and impoverished Nigerians, young and old. He became their symbol. He shocked all of us.
Aṣòfin tí ń rúfin òwò ayé sóra jù.
Like I said, will be dedicated to the obedient. But because it is people's parliament, which means the invitation is open and free, it could also be an avenue for all of us tonight, okay? So kind of, listen to the passionate obedient, what they are holding on to, that continue to make them believe that except the tribunal save Nigeria, Nigeria is done for until then, right? And to some of you too, who believe that, I know it's all kind of nonsense, as you would say, but respectfully, join us and tell us or convince us to make it an open conversation, respectfully too, right? So, but before we get to that, I'll get you into the mood. We'll give them this first hour or two, most especially for those of you who are obedient, to have a chance to kind of have a flashback what you did and the change you have brought into the political space of Nigeria, the disruption you have caused and still causing. I am going to bring all that back, and maybe afterward, then we end it at what the man that has become, somebody that some of them actually love to hate. Long story, okay? So it all started like banter or banters, and this was in December 2020, and it was from the social media, and it was from these expressive Nigerians who are sharing their frustration, anger against the establishment, Nigeria government. In the process, I remember it was one of them who actually made an open request that if by the 2023 election, Peter Obi failed to contest, he would save money to sue him. So like I said, it started like a banter. But Mr. Peter Obi, who happened to be, according to, his record, He is an elite, a trader, a billionaire, a former bank owner or bank director. Now, he is considered as, in today's Nigeria, or should we say, in anywhere in today's world, a standard Nigeria billionaire, which means he belonged to the elite. So he was governor of a state, which actually then dipped him in the dirty pool of Nigeria politics. But his story is always very different. And even if his own critic agreed, until Peter Obi said he wanted to run for president, it was in fact a very good example of what politicians or public servants should always be. And this kind of a sentiment is almost agreed by all groups. It happened to be, his emergence, his government, his life after government, and on like that, until when Atif could pick him as his running mate. And why? Credibility. So let's go back to 2020. And I think Peter Obi didn't even see that tweet until probably a year later. And when he saw it, I mean, people were sharing that. And he said, well, I don't have any money for court. I remember that very well. If you go back onto Mayegun's diary political, all of this a year ago, you will see them all detailed. Right? But I am going to consider, I'm going to look into it, and I'll get back to all of you. So people bantered about it. It was like that, and people just move on and all that. Then fast forward to 2021. By 2021, which was like people were beginning to say, fast forward to 2022, people were beginning to feel like, PDP must bring somebody that is that has integrity, not corrupt. And the kind of sufferness people have seen under Bukwari, they will support PDP. They don't even care anymore that whether PDP was corrupt or not. They just needed somebody. And guess what? The only name that was popping up in the mouth of these young people on social media at the time, Peter Obi, Peter Obi, Peter Obi. And before you know it, a lot of them started searching for him. At a time, he became the most searched for person in the entire Nigeria. Peter Obi, Peter Obi, Peter Obi, Peter Obi, 2022. Young people were like looking. And guess what? The only thing they could grab on were his speeches, what he said. Is really, the way he described and play around with figures. It mesmerized a lot of them. They've never seen any real politician, right, play with numbers like that. And to back it up, it was actually somebody who had figures, who had proof to back some of what he is saying. He did it, or he did them in Anambra. Like I said, he used to be an example of a good governor before he declared for president. Peter Obi, that guy. If you want, I like Peter. You know what I mean? Everybody loved him. So, Peter Obi declared that I will be running in 2023. He tweeted it under PDP. And right to it, like straight into it, he started visiting different states. Okay, meeting people. They call them party members, party leaders. But he was visiting them. And he wasn't kind of giving them the kind of money that somebody who wants to be president will always give people. So they were mocking him. They were laughing at him. He went to 36 states in Nigeria, only him, in PDP, before their convention. Then everybody wanted to be president, this and that. They started mocking him. He had no money because he said, they give shishi. Peter Obi is a politician. He is an elite. Okay? Making his own money in a country like Nigeria to get to the level where he got to within that system. And he's never fingered in any kind of fraud, corruption, or any illegality ever. Are you with me? So, he could pay them money. He could bribe them. He could talk to his own friends also and tell them about his project, and they will gather money, billions, and they will pay them. But they said that is not his way. And that was one of the things that people actually loved about him, or they have heard about him. These things used to be beautiful. They used to be nice things to hear about politicians, especially politicians like Peter Obi, until he said he wants to be president. So they said, you want to be president, and you are saying, they give shishi. He has no money. So the money bags moved in, where Wike was even mocking him at a point. They were laughing at him like a joker. It's just like, what did they worry him? Was it because somebody used you as a vice president the last time? So you think they forgot the fact that the forces driving or asking Obi himself didn't even know. But somehow he said what he has he has seen outside Anambra, in the entire Nigeria, the abject poverty, the suffering of the people. Guess what? He was actually right. When he left before he left government, he was shipping. Before he joined government, he was shipping aid, food, money, and all of that to support people trapped in IDP camps, refugees in northern Nigeria. All of this he was doing years before then. Then when he left government, he continued to do the same. So he was kind of being driven by that already. But he knows that Nigeria, you must know how to play ball if you really want to. So we saw all of that. They mocked him. And that was the moment the Obidient, for the first time, they heard the word delegates. Delegates. Who are delegates? They are the people that we choose, the candidates from the aspirants. Okay. Oh yeah, now they should choose. Let everybody. They started begging PDP. PDP, please don't feud anybody. Just this guy. We know you are corrupt. We know majority of you are like that. But just this guy. Give us this guy. I remember how that time. It got to a stage. The opposition to Peter Obi started from within PDP. Because the job boys who have already kind of positioned themselves for different political gigs, for different PDP aspirants. Peter Obi joining the conversation and his supporters who are not PDP members, Nigerians, all these young people who have no political party, they just hear Peter Obi. Anywhere Peter Obi is Peter Obi, so they don't care. They are now making demand that insulted the younger PDP as too, the vuvuzelas. They call them influencers. That this social media people, they don't even understand politics. Do you think politics is a blah, 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 blah? That Peter Obi himself knows that he has no chance. If PDP want to win, they have to bring somebody from the north. Because APC is going to, that story that time. We didn't know that all of this was because they said Peter Obi, no, they give shishi. No, they give shishi. No, me say, no, they give money. But he know they give money like others would give. So if these guys have to make choices, Obi will not be their choices in the name of choosing or who to support. So those, he now got to a stage whereby those who are supporting Peter Obi, they don't get party, but they are dictating to PDP. So the attack on Peter Obi started from within PDP. They mocked him. They laughed at him. Until we started hearing, or Obidient, for the first time, they started hearing that the delegates are so powerful. Even if the candidate is the best, with the best, this with the and that, it doesn't matter. Now, the candidate with the highest money. So they were shocked. Like, oh, so they still have some people that choose people before all of us. Why is that? Omana, so the campaign for Peter Obi should leave PDP. This Obidient asked him to leave PDP. You know why they are calling them the mob? They said, Peter Obi cannot control them because Peter Obi didn't buy them. They chose him. He didn't choose them. Do you understand? Peter Obi didn't go out and say, I am looking for people to support me so that I can be, No, it wasn't being Mr. Nice, kind of, It was these guys that chose him, this Obidient that you are seeing. And that's why when the election was over, the charade, the usual way was that if it was PDP, APC, they would have started their sharing position among themselves, okay? Everybody would have moved on. But you see the investment that these young people and these old guys in this Obidient movement, right? Their emotional, material, and every other investment they've made is so deep that you can't tell them to move on. Obi didn't choose. I mean, Obi didn't choose them. They chose him. They told him to leave PDP. In fact, it became like even funnier joke. Some of you laughed at the joke then, I believe. If you have a regular on Mayegun's Diary Political, when some of this popped up. We call them clowns, Abi. Jokers and the rest. But a lot of you didn't expect this much upset in the Nigeria system coming from these people who were just 4 people tweeting from a room, right? Peter Obi now dropped the letter and said he was leaving PDP. He's an Igbo man. He's leaving the major political party. This guy is a clown. That was what they called him. And Obidient, they called them novice. But the Obidient were like enraged, more angrier that somebody who has shown that he's got this natural support base that PDP doesn't even have to pay money for, that they will treat him that way. I think that kind of energized them more. Few days after he left PDP, this is the storyline. Few days after he left PDP, they had a meeting, and it was the Labour Party. And for some of you who probably have not seen this before, hang on. So if you haven't seen this before, it's good. This was when they decided that it was going to be Labour Party. Give me a sec. PDP, that PDP didn't need to do anything to get rid of APC and the destruction they have brought upon Nigeria. They just needed to give them Obi. So they started what they call the 1 million man march, just to prove that if you do this, you don't have to do anything anymore. And it was 1 million man march here, 1 million man march here, there and there. I documented everything on Mayegun's Diary Political. Then afterward, when he submitted his resignation from PDP, where next? Obi, where are you going next? You're just wasting your time, wasting this and that, right? It was a Labour Party for a shot.
But for the purpose of this election, and for us to move forward our party,
so this was when, I'm sorry that you can't see some of
I will step down from PDP. Become managing director. This is why I'm saying to you that I will give charge to Peter Obi to lead
Obi for Obidient. Obi for Obidient.
the highest vote. I, Abdullahi Usman Aliu, Chairman of the Electoral Committee, hereby declare Peter Obi as the flag bearer of Labour Party. This time around, he will do it better as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. His Excellency Sir Peter Obi shall march into the assault.
The official starting point of the Obidient journey to expose the corrupt political structure that people have been talking about. You need structure to be president of Nigeria. You need to build bridges. You need mentors. And all other nonsense they told you. It became the most divisive campaigns ever. And Obian is obedient. From the EU report, they were the only ones with idea-based campaign, meaningful campaign. In fact, Obi was the only person that became the source of, what do they call that? Fact-checking. If he sneezed 3 times and he says, oh, bless you, sneeze, bless you. If he says, oh, sorry, if he says sneeze and he says, excuse me, sneeze, excuse me, and he sneezed again and he didn't, it doesn't say excuse me, they will accuse him of being dishonest. For example, if he says, oh, I sneezed twice earlier, they will say, you see, did Peter Obi sneezed twice? When he sneezed, they will say, no, he sneezed 3 times. So fact check, Peter Obi sneezed 3 times, but he said he sneezed twice. Why Kolu was going everywhere, Tifnubu was going everywhere, telling them, yo, peace here, happiness for your children, you will reap the labor of your work, happiness is here, hope is here. And then they will play the music. Jagaban. Everybody vote for Jagaban. Then he will raise his broom. He will raise his broom. And they will say, wow, that was a massive campaign. We saw all of that. Abi? But that was the journey. The Obidient didn't really know what was in stock for them. But they didn't care. That's what I noticed. Every sort of expose to kind of remind them where this was headed, they just didn't give a fuck. Sorry for those children who are listening, by the way. They just give a damn. These people will rig you. They will do this and that. They didn't give a damn. So what happened? They continued to demand for just free, fair election. It was this Obidient movement that finally destroyed the myth of, if you want to be president of Nigeria, you need to go and build some useless relationship with some criminals called political bloc from northern Nigeria. There was no political bloc anywhere. The only political structure that they have maintained all this while is the structure of intimidation, structure of corruption, harassment, structure of, annihilation, harassment, and the rest. They are not actually structure of anything reasonable. Now, the Obidient dismantled all of that. It got to a stage that they declared that it was haram for anybody to be associated with Peter Obi. No joke. I also documented that on Mayegun's Diary Politico. It got so bad that nobody wanted to be his vice president. Yes, it was that bad. That Obasanjo had to start going from house to house, state to state, until he found Dati Ahmed. That now also damned the consequences of whatever they're going to say, those supposed power block in northern Nigeria. The rest, they say, is history. So they jumped from the underdog, from, well, they are just noisemakers, to maybe they are the third force, to maybe they should team up and then all of them should team up together to come and defeat APC, to the main force today. I mean, you'll give that to them, won't you? Mo will go back and pick up a few things from the past before we begin to have the parliament of obedience and anti-obedient too. You have your own chance. The link is in the comments, right there in the video. Open it, that's the studio. And you will join us when I say it is time. But like I said, I'll get you into it. Peter Obi that disrupted the political structure of Nigeria in a space of 10 months, with no structure, as they say, with no sort of a bribery, money, intimidation, or control of any institution. It became a movement that could have actually cleared more than 80% of those who are holding political offices in Nigeria today. And not that it's going to present to you the best of the best of the best per se, but it will do some sort of, it would have done some level of damages that those who are today controlling the level of power in Nigeria, the state capture of Nigeria today, they would have been completely retired if they didn't do the abracadabra that they said they did. So let's go back to what actually strengthened the obedience. And the man, Peter Obi, today told his supporters not to buy him anything, not to kind of do any party, whatever. They should look out for, the vulnerable, the poor, okay, the needy in their different communities. Whatever they can afford, they should reach out to them, help them, because things are really, 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 really bad in Nigeria now. And to some of the people's surprise, right? They were surprised that Peter Obi has never celebrated his birthday with the elite in the last 11 years. Okay, he's always been spending his time with the internally displaced people in Nigeria, and he continued to talk about them. That's why he's more interested in the numbers when he's talking about poverty. But like I said, a lot of you believe so much in him. You all believe that not that it's going to be so good if it was Peter Obi, but you have seen the empathy, okay, in a leader, something that tells you that, right, if he has a magic wand to change things, he will do them. But fine, he doesn't have the magic wand. But if he says we can cut things down, some of you said you believe him, and you also believe that if it was Peter Obi, there could be a recovery time for Nigeria. Let me tell you one thing that got me kind of interested in him myself, when he was talking about the agitation and the agitators in Nigeria. This used to be a topic that a lot of these hypocrite politicians, they have been looking away from. But when election was coming, they all started talking about things they have never been interested in. But this Peter Obi, when they asked him, he said, listen, I am not presenting myself as an Igbo candidate or Igbo whatever. I'm presenting myself as a Nigerian, right, who understand the problems, okay? So as a Nigerian who understand, oh, hang on. There's something I want to drop.
It's very terrible. It's very terrible because we don't expect all the thing where it happen for now, for this Baba, our president, because I like him. I vote for him. I work for him. If you see my message, I write his name for body of my message. So I love Baba. Pass all this way. This thing, I don't know how to.
You will still know later. So he didn't present himself as somebody from the Eastern Nigeria, like, I am Igbo. Nigeria has not been so fair to us. He never presented himself as that. So when he's now talking about the people and talking about the poverty, right? He's talking about the first-hand experience and, kind of what he has been kind of living. So anyway, when he's talking about the agitators, he said, look at Nigeria. Let us be honest, okay? If you have a country who has the population of over 70% of young people between the ages of 0 to 30, those who are under 30, as the major demography of your country. And in that same country, you have over 30% unemployment, which means the young people are mostly the affected. Not just that. So when you now look at that, you have the poverty ratio, or should I say the poverty number of over 130-something million people living in extreme poverty. You are going to have terrorism. You are going to have increased crime. You are going to have agitation. That, you see, no country is really perfect in this way. But Nigeria has been so mismanaged that anything but Nigeria will appeal to anybody. Others will choose to leave Nigeria. Like, I don't want to live in this country anymore. Others will be like, no, I don't even want to be part of Nigeria anymore. And according to him, the injustice in the land, once you begin to address them, once you begin genuinely to address that poverty, okay, and people begin, these active young people are actively engaged in something more productive, then you begin to engage with those who have expressed, grievances that they want to break away. Why? Have a conversation with them. What can be done? What are the other things that can be, this is somebody who is actually a leader that can say, let's talk. Not the one that will roll out tanks, okay, to prove a point, ignoring the base reason for all of this agitation, and just want to prove strength. It never solved anything. And when he said that, I was like, well, that makes sense. They said, what do you think about restructuring? It was restructuring starts from people's anger against how they have been marginalized by Nigeria. But if all of us want to be honest, no part of Nigeria is not marginal. No part of Nigeria currently is not marginalized. So which means what will happen is Nigerians will have to come together, have a chat about their country. From that conversation, if the conversation now leads to this is how we want the country to be, a government who has the political will to call that meeting, and has the political will to implement the result of that conversation, is likely going to what? To have solved the whole riddle than those who have told you Nigeria unity is non-negotiable. Is Nigeria united? You see, these two things, maybe because of where I live, okay, kind of make me as well partially believe that, with the track record of this guy, if Nigeria has a system that allows people to express themselves, how they feel, and those who are in charge, who claim to be the rulers of Nigeria, if they are willing and ready to look into all these vices, just maybe, we won't have to kill ourselves before we break up. That was mine. I was like, well, it's never going to get there. Forget it. So that was why, but I wasn't going to discourage you and say, it's not, I was like, hey, I will come back here most of the time and I will tell my people, I say, hey, a lot of you are laughing at Disobedient. I don't think you will be laughing for too long ago. With all of these things that I have at my own disposal, the raw information, the visual and the what have you, and the responses from different groups who are also monitoring things, it go take this APC or PDP, it go take them more than what it usually take them to rig election to stop these people. Now, when they stop them by rigging them out, it will take a lot of effort again to be able to tame them and still live and still be part of that Nigeria where peace and unity go reign. It no go reign, no. I remember saying all of this during the old time. So let's go back to some of the period. Sometimes this was I think it was in Kano or Sokoto, I'm not sure. Disobedient, that is the only group of people which the Nigeria discriminative politics, divisive politics didn't work on. Okay, they were everywhere. North to south to northwest to northeast to north central, they were everywhere. They became a serious threat to every establishment in Nigeria. PDP, APC, Christian Association of Nigeria, Islamic Association of Nigeria, Sultan Sokoto of Nigeria, and the rest of all those who are like the real owner of Nigeria behind the scene, the establishment. It became a problem to a point that they said Peter Obi was dividing the northern Nigeria. Peter Obi is giving the Christians in northern Nigeria, the minority they call them in northern Nigeria, to start speaking up. And that is against the One North. The Olori Burukus claiming One North. These are the fanatic jihadists, those who have benefited politically, okay, using religion for decades now. So Peter Obi became a threat, and they turned it into a religious war. They said the people of Middle Belt, they were part of northern Nigeria, so therefore it's One North. For 8 or 10 years, these jihadists, murderous, Islamic murderers or terrorists, sponsored by these Islamic jihadist criminals in government from northern Nigeria as well, they have been slaughtering, massacring the Christians in northern Nigeria. So those ones now said, if it's going to be one man, one vote, they are going to stand up. There's nothing like One North. Because during this campaign, the lie about One North or one northern Nigeria also got demystified. That didn't go down well with them, and they didn't forgive Peter Obi. So they told anybody they see with them, it doesn't matter. There were people there during that time. Nobody could be swayed because of earth. Even when those Lagos Abobakus, when they are pushing their Yoruba this, Yoruba that, the real Yorubas stood up and they told them to go to hell. Yorubas don't play this kind of dirty politics. Not even in this age and time. Not even for those who don't give a damn about the Yoruba people. Right? And in fact, not even for a drug dealer. Not for Tifnumbu, for goodness sake. So Yoruba stood. And like I said, the Obidient became a threat to almost every abnormal thing in the establishment in Nigeria, that it became something that, it was like a badge of honor to hate them. Sure you get? Oh, they are so insulting. They don't have respect. I mean, they don't listen to other people. They don't shake any. You are lying. You bunch of born liars, born slaves. Suddenly, when they say between the devil and the deep blue sea, we used to all kind of agree that PDP was bad, APC was bad, only for the rest of them to come back and say, nah, APC is not that bad, the devil you know. PDP is not that bad, the devil you know. But we should be all scared of what Peter Obi is going to do, not what he has done, but what he's going to do to you. And it became something, and Yorubas were like, go to hell. That didn't work on them, and that reflected in the election where they allowed it to take place. Abi? Now, we'll go back to all those times when everywhere you go, you'll be hearing Obi, Obi and all of that, okay? So I want to take you back there, and then I'll come back to today. So you Obidient, you did something. You you disrupted the political structure of Nigeria. That until today, it doesn't seem that they are going to recover from it. For the first time, they rigged an election, and that president who they gave, that criminal that they gave it to, is battling with legitimacy. It never used to be like this. Even Yaradua, that they said was the worst election conducted by Morisiwu. Morisiwu in 2007, there were places, no election, they were just writing the results. This particular one is so worse that even after they inaugurated Kolu, everywhere he goes, you can tell, fighting for legitimacy, fighting for attention, asking people to congratulate him, asking people to say sorry, to withdraw their cases, and all of that stuff. The genesis. So this guy was at a point like this.
God, we have no other country except this one. God deliver us. God free us. God liberate us. We have no other nation except this one. God deliver us, man.
A lot of the people who are his critics, they laughed. Some of the videos I'm going to bring back to you, some of them will get you emotional. Some of them would kind of get you nostalgic. And maybe some of them, if you are obedient, they will get you renew your anger because you know what you did. You know how much you invested. And you saw how they smuggled everything, Abi. And to this day, what you tried to stop or you believe that you wanted to stop is now happening today. Okay? APC has continued. Nigeria continued to go down the rabbit hole. People who try to stop them, they are now still living and suffering in the place that they once thought all they needed was what? To stand up and vote. I wish I could say sorry to you, to all of you who actually invested that time. But like I said, these are going to bring back some of the memories if you are still here, okay? Thank you so much, Prince Akwachi. If I didn't put it on, I may completely miss it. So thanks for that super chat. That's very kind of you, right? So there he was praying, and everywhere he goes, the appearance of the sort of the acceptance is always almost like this all the time.
Our incoming president, sir. The incoming president, sir. Oh my God. We are obedient to you, sir. We are obedient to you, sir.
Social media presidents, some of these cash TVists, hungry social media vuvuzela's who call themselves influencers, they were even promising money. All these things now noise. Again, let's go back to another one. That's one, right? Here is another one. Some young chaps from northern Nigeria waiting for the arrival of Obi in their own state. This was, I think it was in Zaria, Kaduna. So I'm not sure. Some of you will remember this.
election. Some winning. Achieving. American Bosa for example capacity. We created leader, the academic leader, the employment leader, the contemporary president, the educational president, the overqualified president, the academic president, the administrative president, the honorable and official also for our capacity to
You know, nobody was giving them money. Nobody was kind of, they were funding themselves. They were mobilizing using social media to pass their information. They were holding or hosting spaces. They, on different platforms. They were promoting, it was quite, a lot of people were laughing, I remember. I'll show you another one. In case some of you have forgotten. Body has to pay. In fact, it became something that you remember, Abi. I'll show you another one. We are all going to the flashback, playback here. That movement that you are wondering, why are they not keeping quiet yet? How come? We thought they were going to abandon him when election came. Election came, they didn't. They stood. You saw all of that. After the election, they are still standing. This is why. That was Wike when he thought he could also cash in on Peter Obi and Obidient movement. Okay, we all know how that ended. But you see those crowd, Wike was probably feeling somehow in his own mind that the Riverians, the people of Port Harcourt, or those who came out there, they came out because of him. He didn't know. And he had to battle them, kill some of them to force Tifnumbu on them in Rivers State. Remember? Okay. Let's go a little bit further. Just from the street as well. Here is one.
Peter Obi for president. Peter Obi. Peter Obi. Peter Obi. Good afternoon. We got the pass. I see when the energy too strong, now we say more come back again. Make you come touch the microphone. Are you obedient? Peter Obi. I bet February 25th. Make we vote for Peter Obi. Me, I be a social Yahweh engineer, and they do out of rest. As you vote for Obi, when you vote for all the disciples, Obi don't fit do them alone. As you go there that day, when you protect everybody's vote. Because if you don't get it right on the 25th, the problem will be there 2 months. So make we deliver the mandate for our children. Not be that to collect money from politicians. After 4 years again, they will come back again. After they suffer you for 4 years. So make we get it right on the 25th. We know our people.
Volunteers. Okay. And in those places where they actually showed up, they delivered though. Here is another one. This time, this one was in Jos, Plateau State, where Peter Obi and Labour Party scored over 1.8 million votes. You heard me right, 1.8 million. And they cut and cut and cut until they dropped them down to paltry hundreds of thousands of votes, and they gave it to him. He was back to that state today, by the way, to celebrate his 62nd birthday, where he went on to go and share, the day with 18,000 refugees, Nigerians living in refugee camps in Plateau State. That's where he spent his 62nd. But before today, when he was in that same Plateau State, Jos, see him and his Obidient just a few months back. Plateau State. They were just on their way to the stadium where people were waiting for him and all that. Those were their Obedience. Again, if you are watching this broadcast tonight,